This is something that I definitely should have clarified sooner and probably repeated it at least a few times, not exactly for the sake of anyone else other than myself to remind my own brain that it's something that I really should keep in my mind whenever I am talking about anything, even though I do think that I am aware of this, but I had yet to put this properly into words. So, considering my skills, knowledge, education, experience, and my general view on such declarations, I am fairly certain that I should never call anything, any story, be it one told through any sort of media, books, movies, games, even songs, or paintings, good or bad in terms of quality. The only distinction I can safely make is whether I like something or not. If I do, I would like to at least attempt to talk about it here, and if I don't, well, I will not. And I really hope to be able to keep this specific rule around, adhere to it, because such assessment coming from me feel almost impudent, especially considering my relationship with certain rules and guidelines that are in place for writing or movie making, and that basically means my opinion on any of those very, very much subjective and thus pretty much irrelevant outside of this channel, and my own thoughts, possibly my own stories that I would like to write in the future. Now that's about the intro for this one. Time to follow the rapid arrows on their adventures. Speedy saw a warning in his dream and did not listen to it, and it had some consequences, but it's a new story, and Redcap's mother decided to gift the club an old couch, which sends Redcap into a frenzy of celebration, and the club members arrive to move the sofa into the club room. Leading the operation is Chief Speedy. His instructions not exactly clear, his ability to be actually helpful almost non-existent, at one point even proposing to tear down the railing so that they can rotate the sofa towards the stairs, which is obviously an unthinkable solution, so Mirek comes up with his own, lifting the furniture up, which is all it took to complete the rotation. An idea Speedy, as all good leaders do, immediately proclaims as his own, and then the glorious leader decides to order his servants to push the couch down the stairs instead of carrying it, which surprisingly turns out to be at least a decent idea. This one must have one hell of a sturdy legs. Their descent gets interrupted by a neighbor that's trying to go up the stairs, so they are forced to carry the sofa to the nearest mezzanine so she can pass them. And on the last flight of the stairs, the carriers seem to have some sort of trouble, so their leader decides to finish this job by himself with a run and a big push, He is determined to carry the resisting piece of furniture all the way down. It works somehow to an extent. The descent begins a bit fast, and our glorious leader falls on top of the sofa that's rushing down, flails and bounces on it chaotically, and when he finally lands, he reports a semi-successful landing, the landing gear undamaged, just the pilot slightly shaken, concussed, consciousness slipping away, possibly at the end of his lifespan. In the next one, they are invited by the boys from the orphanage of the whole 16 to an event. They are promised interesting program and an all in all fun Saturday. They also decide to contribute somehow and show off their human pyramid they practiced for a school event before. Two boys as the base, Mirek and Yarka as the biggest of the club members, then Speedy and Yindra standing on their shoulders, and the top of the pyramid, Redcap as the lightest one. Redcap's climb is slow and tedious, according to Yindra's words, resembling a broken locomotive, but ends up being successful, thus ending their practice. And Redcap has an idea that once he's at the top, he'll be throwing some treats to Bubbles to spice things up a little bit. Saturday comes, and the boys from the orphanage welcome the boys of the Rapid Arrows Club on their home turf, and after a welcome speech, the activities begin. An exhibition match in box performed by two of the boys of the whole 16, followed by the performance of the Rapid Arrows with Speedy promising some serious wonders. And third way through this book, that's already a red flag. So far, so good though. Redcap manages to climb up safely, and only when he starts waving the treats at Bubbles, the future seems iffy. The dog is not exactly keen on waiting till the treats land and decides to go directly to the source instead, which leads to a deconstruction of an unstable pyramid since only two at the bottom is not nearly enough in the face of the force of a hungry dog. The pyramid goes down, and Redcap only manages to remark that he's got it nice, he's going to land in soft, but those underneath him, well, good luck to them. And we are on a quest, an adventure into the unknown, and we see the five boys being stopped by a quarry worker who warns them that they are using explosives to take down portions of a rock and that they need to wait till after the explosion until they can safely continue forward. They watch the explosion happen, baffled by its power and how far it flings the rocks. When it's over, they are once more warned by the worker to not enter the actual quarry because it's forbidden and could be very much dangerous. Their road takes them to a nearby ravine, and while walking alongside it, Speedy decides to investigate what's at the bottom of it. Mirek warns him to be careful, and this time Speedy abides, not wanting to dive down head first, and he sees a young boy holding something in his hands, asks him what that is, and the boy replies that he found it in an abandoned quarry. That instantly sets Speedy up, and he shouts at the rest of the boys that a damn planter is holding a shell that probably didn't go off, and that an accident might happen. They run down the gorge, and Mirek decides to be the only one who will approach the young boy and attempt to dissuade him from doing what he's doing, which is using a rock to attempt to open up the shell to see what's inside. Mirek tries to stop him one last time, shouting that it's a dynamite and if he keeps bashing at it, it might go off. And then an explosion happens that leaves Mirek laying a bit further away from the explosion, unmoving. So the rest of the club members run outside to get help from the adults, report that an accident happened in the quarry, and that they are suspecting that at least one boy and maybe their friend are dead. What we see in the next panel is a funeral. Turns out that the young boy they tried to warn didn't survive his curiosity, and the four club members are there and they are going to visit Mirek, who's in a hospital right after the funeral ends. He's all bandaged up and remorseful that despite his heroic attempt to save the boy, they were ultimately unable to do so. The only thing they can hope for is that this event will serve as a stern warning to anyone else who might ever wander into one of those sites where any sort of explosives were used for any sort of reasons and won't play with them haphazardly. Well, this ended on a bit more somber note, as some of the adventures do, and I am going to continue in the next one more about protagonists and more adventures of the club, the Rapid Arrows.